is the summary of our key deliverables intended to benefit the city. So broken up in columns under transparent and timely reporting. We'll continue to enhance the quarterly financial report that we give to FEC, our Committee of Purview, to make sure that that is guiding the policymakers and giving appropriate and accurate decision that is usable and can further their roles. We have funding in this budget to enhance the alcohol license audit and coordinate with APD for enforcement and compliance. We also have funding to implement GASB 87. From a financial system and reporting standpoint, we are streamlining the budget process to allow for looking at either a bottoms-up or zero-based budgeting approach that coordinates with the departments on the front end to really structure out a plan for the next fiscal year. Our Treasury team is looking at services of software to help them bring some better insight into cash management and mitigate those bank charging fees that I discussed before. On the small business surety program implementation, this is with our enterprise risk team to increase opportunities for small businesses to engage with a lot of the capital projects we have at the City of Atlanta. And finally, improve the customer service experience. And we like to say womb to tomb to optimize business licensing process and leverage technology for clear communication and build on some of those lessons learned during some of the downtime last year when we had system issues with business licensing. And that concludes the prepared remarks, and the entire team is here, and we're ready for your questions.
All right, and we've been joined by Mr. Dozier. An announcement meant to drive attendance to other council members who can hear the sound of my voice is a very nice hot breakfast that's been laid out here in chambers. So come for the breakfast and stay for the fellowship. Questions or comments? Mr. Dozier. Then Ms. Norwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question on the budget trend graph. I see there's a almost $2 million difference between what was adopted for FY22 and what's being proposed for FY23. But when I look at the total personnel count, the total number, I know there's some discrepancy around the vacant funded and unfunded that we discussed yesterday, but the total amount is only a difference of 3 people. So you may have said this, I might have missed it, but if you can kind of talk to what's driving that nearly $2 million difference. So
if you look at the personnel breakout in our budget, there is the portion that's related to salaries is de minimis compared to the portion that is related to benefits. So it's with the last year's budget for benefits was a little on the lower side, and this year's budget is more in line with what we're expecting on the benefits side of the equation. The other part of the overall budget, the increase that we discussed, was in other financing charges, and that is related to financing of the ERP system, our Oracle cloud system. And so, that charging is coming from the Department of Finance.
Okay. And so I know FY21 actual is included on here. What's the trend line looking for FY22 actual? Is it comparable to what is being proposed for FY22?
Yeah, so you would have seen it in the third quarter report, but I think we're gonna show that in the next FEC presentation. But we are in line with our FY22 budget, and there is a slight surplus, but not a significant surplus.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chow, you.
Ms. Norwood.
We know we have unfunded positions, our vacant positions. Can we get an analysis of how much money we have in unfunded positions on a monthly basis? So if we didn't hire anybody, how many are we carrying? I mean, we know we've got police positions that need to be funded. We know that we've got other departments where you've got vacancies. So it's really helpful to know how that impacts our cash flow. because that's cash that you've got. If it's real, I found out the impact fees weren't real, so I don't know if these are real or not.
So on a monthly basis, you would like to see an analysis of how many, what
is that dollar amount?
How many-
just like I asked about fire, where are we, where's the Mercer report, I asked for that, like one figure, and I know fire's working, I talked with the chief last night, but I like something simple, how much are we carrying if we don't hire anybody over a month, 2 months, 3 months, or we have a 10% increase in acquiring positions?
Yeah, sure. We can coordinate with HR to run that analysis. We can look at the unfunded positions, which of course don't have any funding tied to them for the fiscal year, but we can also look at the funded vacancies each month.
Correct.
And that will show you exactly how much on a monthly basis we are not spending on personnel. And we'll also show on some of those, I think it's important to note on some of the unfunded vacancies, how long they've been vacant, right? Because some of those positions are ideal for abolishments if they haven't been utilized by a department for, say, 3 years or so, and they've been continuing to operate without that need. We can tease that a little bit further, but I understand the assignment, and we'll provide and coordinate with HR to provide you that information.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
The next thing is, how far have we gotten along in the alcohol license audit?
Lawrence Davis, Jr., Revenue Chief, the Office of Revenue. In regards to alcohol, we have coordinated with the State Department of Revenue, and we are working with them to assist us with any alcohol issues that we may have. The intergovernmental agreement has already been made with APD, and so we're just piggybacking off of that.
Okay. Now, have y'all been advised that the bad bars, and I mean that by behavior, not by person, the bad bars are buying their whiskey, their liquor, from retail establishments? They are voiding the revenue from the state. So it's more expensive to buy retail unless you're paying no tax on it. So my request is that y'all factor that in. Let's get out there and see who's not paying us. How just pretty outrageous that you have a place that's chock-a-block full most nights of the week, and yet what are y'all receiving in liquor by the drink? I actually have some first-hand experience with this because I went to a little liquor store right after COVID was over, and I said, "Are you guys having to sell to these guys?" And they said, "Yeah, we have to," because they come in as a group and they are demanding that they pick up that liquor from you. Now, your little retail establishment, you don't have the wherewithal to say, "I'm not doing that." And as they said, we can't tell if it's a party. Maybe it's a private party, over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I think it's a big loophole. I think we're losing a lot of money, and I think we got a lot of bad stuff going on that we need to curtail and corral pretty quickly. So if y'all can just figure out with the state, because I actually talked with some of the distributors. So that's where I got my information. It was not secondhand or third hand, it was first hand. The next thing is the cash pool. I'm brand new back here, and for years we operated with a cash pool. Do y'all still do that, or do we have different segmented accounts?
I'll let Ms. Carr answer the question, but yes, we still operate the cash pool account for operational needs, but within the cash pool there is segmented codes that we know each participant's level within the cash pool. So at the year end when we close out, we will know which funds are in a surplus or in a deficit, but Ms. Carr can talk in more detail about the processes.
Thank you, CFO Bala. Good morning, Councilmember Norwood. So we do have the cash pool, and this is where we house all of our bank accounts. We have aviation, we have watershed. So we have several bank accounts, and again, we use this to pool all of our cash to get the best return for our funds. But as we close out the year, we're able to see each fund on how we're going to end the year and how our expenses fall out, as well as the interest that we earn on each of the accounts within cash pool.
What kind of safeguards do y'all have that the funds don't get commingled and then something ends up? I mean, we had that issue when I was here 10 years ago.
Yes, ma'am, that's a very good question. So what we do is we reconcile the accounts on a monthly basis. In addition to that, we have an external auditor that comes in and look at the balance sheet, all the accounts, and in the past 10, 15 years, we've received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion that you can receive. So we do internal checks as well as external with our auditors, previously KPMG.
Okay. All right. And last thing, not part of the budget today, but let's get together Monday. I'll be here all day. So
Okay. We'll put something on the schedule.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we've been joined by Mr. Antonio Lewis and Mr. Dustin Hillis. I'll chip in with a question or two. I see that you're carrying fewer vacancies than prior year, but it's still a pretty high amount percentage-wise, probably one of the larger ones in terms of what those numbers look like across departments. So what are the sort of the drivers that have resulted in this?
Sure. I'll take a stab at it. The attrition and transition in some of our positions within finance tend to occur in more of our support departments. So we do a good job of bringing in talented professionals in the budget team, and as a reward for doing a good job, they get absorbed in other departments. So we've lost, I think, 3 or 4 this year from the budget, 5 from the budget team to other city departments, which is
In this city?
within the city. Yeah, I mean, and it's fine because it is a promotional opportunities for them. They get into the budget team and they learn the ins and outs of the city's budget process, and they find opportunities to grow within the city that might not be there within finance, and we're supportive of that. So that creates some transition. And as I mentioned before, some of the support departments like revenue and like accounts payable, we see comparable things where people come in, they enter into the profession, and it's a good segue into other city departments, but also we lose a lot of employees to the private sector as well once they have a City of Atlanta finance position on their resume. And, you know, we coordinate with Christy and team, and we're getting a little bit more innovative in our approach. So recently we reached out to Georgia State, to their accounting, Master's of Accounting team, as well as Clark Atlanta University, to have a pipeline ready for newly minted graduates.
Okay. And do these vacancies tend to spread themselves proportionally across the organization, or do they tend to fall in any particular category?
They tend to follow within the support departments, so accounts payable, budget, and revenue.
Well, your core leadership team now has been here for quite some time, which leads me to a question about your notation here about looking at re-engineering the budget process in order to streamline the budgeting process that allows bottom-up zero-based budgeting. And again, y'all are veterans and have been through thick and thick here. What are the features that have, well, you guys have been around. Obviously, it's a new mayor and a bunch of new people, so that has to be taken into account. But what are the factors that kind of keep us from seemingly having that conversation?
I'll take a stab and I'll let Ms. Wilson dig in a little bit deeper. But some of the factors is lack of visibility into departmentals, the department's monthly, quarterly budget versus actual processes. And so what we've done is we've coordinated and leveraged with our ATL Cloud team to come with a with a pilot program that has more controls on the line item budgets. So what that does is it forces departments to do budget adjustments in a real-time basis to move between the different sub-account levels so we can see where the actual spending is happening. That's the first step. The second step is to have routine in touch point conversations with the departments about the upcoming needs for the new fiscal year, but also as they are coming off of initiatives, which we lose some visibility on those initiatives that have ended, right? We budgeted for them. They were one-time budgets. They ended, but we, in the past, have budget. When you budget on top of a budget and budgeting last year's budget, and you're not having conversations about those one-time initiatives, they tend to be replaced with a different initiative without much conversation and much diligence or analyses. And so we're kind of working through that process now. Ms. Wilson?
One thing that's, frustrated me is I never see evidence of any programs or activities being reviewed, and as a result of said review and other pressures to do or increase other things being sunset. To what extent, if at all, does the budgeting process involve looking at the, widget replacement program and saying, we're going to stop that. It doesn't do anything.
I think the concerns, you're raising the same concerns that we have, and a couple of things that we've implemented over the last couple of years really is the monthly review with departments, and as we go through the budget process, looking at, what was an unfunded initiative that was required that year, and asking the question again, is it complete? The problem that we've seen historically has been kind of this incremental budgeting process. Taking last year, bumping it up a little bit, and that's why we really like the functionality that Oracle's has, which will allow us to not take that approach, but to say, really, starting from scratch, what is it that you really need? What are the required contracts that you already have in place? Why do you need them? When do they expire? Looking across and working with multiple agencies, looking across, seeing if there are synergies that can be captured there. But the kind of incremental approach is just not fiscally really the future for what we'd like to see as part of the budget process. So this will allow us to take a technology that will help us really streamline that building of the budget.
And really, I'm not trying to put the burden on the finance department to make that happen, because you can't make that happen as a department. You can make recommendations, and you can pitch, and you can make your case. But if your boss and your boss's boss see it differently, then it's not going to happen. I'm hoping that once this new administration gets its senior team fully populated, that we'll start delving into. I think we all share a lot of the same concerns, especially those of us that kind of every year it's kind of a variation on the theme. You kind of start with X and then add X plus 2%. I think the general fund has become kind of a wish list instead of what I think it should be, which is a scene of very robust competition. Because that's what a budget is, right? It's prioritizing your needs. They're all important, but some are more important. What's the department's philosophy when you look at other sister departments and you see for 10, 15, 20 years a 25% vacancy rate? At what point does the finance department think it's fair to say, all right, we're going to take the 15-year average. We're never going to be a hiring blitz away from wiping out that 25%. Adherence to, hope in the next hiring blitz is kind of not much more than obedience to a superstition as far as I'm concerned. Well, as a professional, budgeteers, is it fair to say, okay, department, this is what we know you're going to have because it's the 15-year historical average. So here's your workforce, and that's going to drive programs and frequency of activities. Instead of just carrying these year after year after year, a cynic would say it's nothing more than a budget management tool for them.
Yeah, I would say, I think our philosophy in coordinating with administration this year, one of the things that we wanted to do and look at when we implemented the budget is look at filled positions first and making sure that that is guiding the base for our discussion. And so you see a lot of people saying we're carrying a lot of unfunded, but what we've done is proceeded with funding the filled positions first and then looking at the historical time to onboard and historical levels of attrition to come up with a sound department by department approach to how much additional positions we're willing to fund this year. So coordinating with administration, we're thinking that process is a good process. I'll hand it over to Ms. Wilson as well. But one of the other things that we really need to see at a departmental level, we used in our base assumption this year, we used comparable attrition across all departments. But we know that some departments attrition levels are different and their industries are a little bit different and more unique. So in future budgets, we hope to get a little bit more granular to understand, their restrictions and how some of those industries fare versus other ones, and maybe tweak the assumptions regarding the across-board attrition.
The only thing I would add, and Councilmember Hillis is usually asking this question, but CFO Bala has really kind of articulated the approach that we've taken a little bit differently this year and really looked at funding people already in seats, and then historically what their spend has been in their personnel, and in coordination with the administration and HR. So I think Commissioner Norman has done a great job in looking at historically how long there have been vacancies seated, and working with departments to bring abolishment papers periodically to take care of those additional FTEs.
Well, I'll just note, it always kind of sticks out to me when a department will come in for a quarterly budget hearing or something, and they'll brag about all these awards that they've won, and I'll look and see that every fourth position is vacant. And I'm wondering, well, you're not persuading me that you need all these other positions. All right, I will relinquish. Ms. Lewis, you're up.
Thank you for coming this morning. And I was looking at the same thing on the vacant positions, wrote a few notes, and I was going to say something that you already said, Mr. Bala. I was going to say the AUC. When we talk about unfunded positions, I know 8 accountants right now who just graduated from Spelman or Morehouse, the 2 schools we didn't mention, who need jobs, and we can bring them right on. And I was thinking of another way we can bring folks on is a way that they did it when I was growing up in 2005 and 2006 was we've already hired students who've just graduated from high school. Some of them will not be going to college. Some of them will be going to college in Atlanta. We can keep some of them on. I was amazed by one of my friends, Tiffany Eggleston, in 2005, who interned with City Council and ended up staying with City Council for about 8 years afterwards. So, and that was what I was trying to do in the mayor's office. So those are 2 recommendations I would put in as a recruiting tool. I would include Morehouse and Spelman. I would say, hey, I have 8 jobs. I would call the president. I got 8 jobs. Send me 8 accounting majors. I'm positive they would send you 8 people. I'll make the phone call for you. Who should I send the 8 people to?
You can send them to me. And Councilmember Lewis, I 100% agree with you. As a proud Morehouse alum and husband of a Spelmanite, Spelman and Morehouse are definitely in our eye for recruiting positions. The positions I mentioned before are positions tailored to CPAs and masters in accountancy. So Clark has a master's program, and so does Georgia State. Those specific newly minted CPAs are ideal for some of the positions that we were mentioning before. But absolutely, I think Atlanta, one of its strengths is the local college pool in the city of Atlanta. It attracts businesses. It's a diverse pool, and there's a lot of great talent. I think that we could benefit from leveraging those resources specifically for entry-level professional positions that start careers off on the right trajectory.
I propose we put together a direct recruiting plan with the AUC and grab folks so we can keep folks so they can advance and grow like you did. And I was going to say one more thing. It sounds like you have because when you say people are leaving, they're leaving to go to new positions. That's because there's a glass ceiling, right? They see there's no more, or am I wrong? They see there's no more growth?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that that is not unique to the Department of Finance, but throughout the city, as in flatter organizations, as you advance, you get a lot of responsibilities that are in those sub-manager positions, and the next level up is manager, then director. So the opportunities decrease as you gain critical knowledge. And so we'd love to keep talented people in the city first. So it helps us out when we have great budget professionals who were developed in the Department of Finance and have been deployed to other departments like planning or watershed or some of the other areas where we've seen that happen. And they go to those departments and they support at a very high level. They coordinate well with us. They know our processes, our systems. They have institutional knowledge that's critical for the city of Atlanta to continue to function and thrive. So we like being a launching pad. But we have to do a better coordinated job to get the next round of talent in place so that the pipeline of talent development continues. But I agree with you, Council Member, looking forward to coordinating with you and Commissioner Norman to structure a formal pipeline program.
And I was going to say, I like that. I like that you're a launching pad. When I was my last position with ASME, I started off in a retiree department. I grew to being political department, and I love that. I knew the entrance level was the entrance level. When I get people jobs in the public works department, they start off on the back of the trash truck. Their goal is to one day drive it. And when you see folks after they get that CDL and they can drive the truck, you see the accomplishment. So I want to say I appreciate you, and that's a good boss problem. So that means you're being a good boss. You're instilling skills and helping them grow. I want to see that keep happening. Thank you. I want to encourage that. We want to encourage that. We want to encourage that type of vacancies.
Thank you, Council Member.
Thank you. Others? Winner, chicken dinner. I won't ask again. Thank you. Very concise. I will say I appreciate the work that you do. I think you keep the city in good shape, whether it's bond transactions or whatever. And I appreciate the fact that you are all willing to answer the questions that we have. The more offline, probably the richer the conversation. But I think it's very helpful. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thank you. We have a great team
here.
here.
Look forward to working with you as this process comes to a boil. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of intent discussion about some possible amendments. So that concludes DOF. Next up at 11, so we've earned ourselves a little break here. Next up is our shop, City Council, page 149. So we're going to take a brief recess and resume at that time. Thank you. And again, hot breakfast over there in the corner.
I know. Some of us.
Damon said that was what he said. He just
Oh. Ooh, this thing is shaking out there. Is it?
What a fine-looking group here. All right, are you all ready? You want me to read the script again? All right, folks, it's 11 o'clock. City Council is going to resume its review of the administration's proposed FY23 budget. Our presenters during this segment is our very own shop, the Atlanta City Council, along with the Municipal Clerk's Office. And so I'm not sure what you all have worked out in terms of run of show. We've been joined by Byron Amos and Jason Winston. So please identify yourselves and take it away.
Can you hear me?
No.
For the past 2 fiscal year budget briefings, each started with that statement, having been conducted in a virtual environment during the mandatory telework deployment. One I am truly proud to say my team orchestrated flawlessly. Good morning, Atlanta City Council. My name is Santana Kempson Wright, Interim City Council Staff Director, and it is my pleasure to be here. I would first like to introduce the senior team joining me on stage today. To my right is Council Communications Director Zena Lewis. To his right is Council Administrative Support Manager Mary Tanner. And to her right is Information Technology Manager Senior Damon Massenberg. We are also joined by a few Council staff members in the audience. December 2021 began the transition from one guard to the next as we welcomed 8 newly elected officials and their staff to the Atlanta City Council for the 2022 quadrennial term. Our staff worked day in and out to guarantee a smooth continuity of operations by providing orientation, support for the inauguration, onboarding, and necessary guidance and training. Over the past year, we, no different than other employers, have experienced the impact of the Great Resignation. Yet, we have not missed a beat. Continue to provide quality customer service to every council office, internal departments, and to the public. When former council member Mayor Andre Dickens stated he wanted City Hall opened on day 1, we immediately began to explore ways to ensure a safe return for all staff. The team seamlessly transitioned from the 100% digital platform used since March 16, 2020, to successfully conduct the first in-person full council meeting on March 7, 2022. We implemented a safe return to office hybrid plan to ensure we are not only accessible, but visible. To ensure we are the best stewards for not only the council members and staff we support, but for the constituents as well. Fueled by purpose is an understatement. We continue to serve remote days, typically extending beyond the normal 8 to 5 workday hours. At this time, I would like to take a moment to thank each member of the team for their continued professionalism, commitment, dedication, and hard work in such a unique environment. Next slide, please. The Office of Research and Policy Analysis works directly with your offices, the executive branch, city departments, and agencies, including external stakeholders, in providing policy and legislative support to the City Council. The research staff fulfilled 33 requests for research from council members, drafted more than 450 pieces of legislation in FY 2022, and analyzed more than 1,600 pieces of legislation. They have also staffed 348 hours of meetings. I will now turn it over to Communications Director Zena Lewis to provide communication highlights, followed by Mary Tanner with administrative highlights, and last to Damon Massenberg to review integrated technology and logistical highlights before I review the proposed fiscal year 23 budget.
Okay, thank you. And we've been joined by Council Members Keisha Shawn Waits and Andrea Boone, and we are on page 153 in your budget. Please continue.
Good morning, Vice Chair Shook. Good morning, Council members. My name is Zena Lewis. I'm the Communications Director for the Atlanta City Council Office of Communications. The current slide is a breakdown of our social media metrics and our external communication metrics for the last 4 fiscal years. And we thought it was important to include the numbers from 2019 prior to our remote operation during the pandemic. During the pandemic, our social media platforms became, if not the primary source of information, including our live streams for our committee meetings and our full council meetings. Our current social media platforms include Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Medium, YouTube, and Vimeo. And starting with our Twitter account, steadily we're averaging close to 2,500 followers per year with an 11% increase from the previous year. Our Facebook page, which is our one-stop shop for all our information, it averages 1,500 followers per year and with a 9% increase from 2021. Our Instagram metrics show a 30% increase with an average of 2,000 followers per year. And we're particularly pleased with this number as we've been using our efforts to kind of funnel our online users to our IG page. We added Medium and YouTube during the recent years. Medium is a tech/political editorial space, and we use that to post our agenda release and some of our feature stories related to the council members and our legislation. YouTube serves as a platform for our live streams, and with Vimeo, it also is the archive for some of our video productions. And if I can direct you to the attention of the communication metrics, our documents related to our external communication include press releases, media advisory statements, and proclamations. And although our press releases and advisory numbers show a decrease from last year, as a result of serving our advisories as events or using our advisories to promote our events and our press releases to promote our long-term initiatives and our announcements. With the advisories, we were able to see more coverage with some of our community events. Although there was an increase with our statements, we did notice an uptick with some council members using their social media to distribute their own personal statements while we distribute a lot of our statements as a joint statements representing the entire body. Lastly, we're drafting more proclamations after a significant decrease as a result of social distancing and remote meetings. And to close, I would also like to take this time to recognize my staff, Dexter Andrews, Phyllis Jackson, Bruce Morton, and Michael Ulmer. And I'll be remiss if I didn't mention Talia, who left us a couple months ago. She had a significant role in our social media and our live stream. So at this time, I'd like to pass the presentation over to my colleague, Mary Tanner.
Thank you, Zena. Good morning, Vice Chairman Shook and members of Council. I am Mary Tanner. I serve as the Council Administrative Support Manager. It is my pleasure to share our fiscal year 22 administrative highlights with you. We did close to 900 invoices for goods and services that were procured. We submitted over 20 journal entries for financial transactions. We provided or assisted with at least 36 training opportunities for staff. We had over 104 human resource related transactions. Those were largely due to the election year activity. We welcomed more than 525 visitors to our council staff suites. And on behalf of myself and Bridget Brown, we would like to thank you for the opportunity to serve and support each of you. And now I will turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Damon Massenberg.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning, Council, Vice Chair Shook and City Council members. My name is Damon Massenberg, and I'm the IT Manager for City Council. Along with LaToya Joseph, our team is responsible for all technical aspects of City Council, which includes the Municipal Clerk's Office, Council members, and Council staff, along with facilitating all logistics for City Council members and their staff. I would like to give a quick overview/summary of the past fiscal year. During this fiscal year, we have managed the transition of 9 council offices, including council chambers, committee room 1, which includes the move out and move in of non-returning members and new members and their staff. We have utilized the remote operating procedures to manage and train council members, as well as staff, technical and non-technical issues. We also assisted in solving 2,853 technical issues, hybrid and in person, including conducting remote meetings while we were 100% virtual. We assisted in designing the training methods for the new legislative management system. Working remotely at the inauguration, we were able to update the council website once the new council was sworn in. And we have created 2 additional websites, which includes the Buckhead Public Safety Task Force and ATAG committee member pages, which are under their respective committee/member pages. During the transition of the onboarding of the new members and staff, we've procured and programmed 30 city mobile devices, procured and imaged 26 laptops. We worked in collaboration with AIM to create a digital questionnaire/form to send out to all citywide employees that enter legislation to enable the ability to remote install the new system and receive their direct feedback for the current and new legislative management system. We've installed the new legislative management system on all council computers, including full council chambers and Committee Room 1 PCs. In July, we'll be conducting a website training for all staff officers to be able to give them the access/tools to update their respective members' webpage. We look forward to continue to work with your staff to integrate any new technology or tools that they may desire that will make their job and your job full easy. This includes the integration of the overview. I will pass it back to our Council Staff Director, Santana Kempson-Wright.
Thank you, Damon. I will now review on the next slide the City Council's proposed fiscal year 23 operating budget. The fiscal year 23 budget remains flat in comparison to fiscal year 2022. The $12,379,032 includes 20 call centers, 16 for the elected officials, the Office of Research and Policy Analysis, the Office of Communications and Shared Support, which includes the administration, integrated technology, and logistics, and the Office of the Municipal Clerk. The offices of council staff, municipal clerk, communications, and shared support make up 34% of the overall city council budget. Of the 48 funded positions for the Department of Council, with 16 of them being slated for you, the elected officials, 24 fall under my purview. The 2023 proposed budget broken down by major categories is driven by mainly our personnel and employee benefits, $8,461,279, followed by other costs, $3,015,263. This accounts for the proposed carry-forward allocations that each of your accounts will receive. Followed by purchase and contracted services, $700,763. A few of our proposed fiscal year 23 initiatives include council staff updating our standard operating procedures manual that will provide our offices all administrative and legislative processes. The goal is to distribute this in August 2022. Department trainings provided to your offices will be conducted quarterly, and it is our hope to have the new electronic legislative management system go live before year end. This concludes my portion of the presentation, and I will yield the floor to my colleague, Vanessa Walden, the Deputy Municipal Clerk.
Walden, Deputy Municipal Clerk. And to my left is the Municipal Clerk, Forrest Webb III. I'll begin with a brief overview of the Office of Municipal Clerk. Please, next slide. The Office of Municipal Clerk, or OMC, is more commonly known as the central repository for all legislative records and the custodian of the city seal. The clerk's office is one of the vital parts of local government and the oldest among public service. The clerk must always be mindful of being neutral and impartial when rendering equal services to all persons. Our office continuously strives to improve its operations through participation in professional education programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings of state and international organizations. The entire staff of the Office of Municipal Clerk is dedicated to providing outstanding service and support to all persons with integrity and respect. We work together as a team to develop a positive environment that encourages quality performance and a premium customer service experience when contacting our office. Currently, the office has 9 out of 10 positions staffed with the most knowledgeable and dedicated persons, most of whom have served this Department of Counsel for more than an average of 15 years. The goal of the clerk's office is to maintain a meaningful relationship with the citizens of Atlanta with an organic approach to good government. Throughout the last 2 years, our office has waived administrative costs for citizens of Atlanta requesting certificates or certifications of documents maintained in the OMC not to exceed $75 annually per citizen. The office's current and proposed budget remains static at $1.4 million, which is less than 1% of the city's total annual budget. Our office is responsible for the city's charter and code of ordinances and codification of amendments as adopted by the City Council and approved by the Mayor. Staffing each meeting of the Council, it is imperative that we maintain the integrity of each legislative item. We provide support to all persons working within our electronic legislative management system, from legislation input until the final council and mayoral action. We are also charged with responding to open meetings, open records requests, posting public notices, and legal advertisements. Our office maintains several databases, including our captions file, the Boards and Commissions database, better known as BASE, while ensuring that we administer an oath to all members related to each board. We maintain domestic partnership certificates, building permit affidavits, applications of annexations, and recently a database that tracks the clerks at a station to the City of Atlanta contracts and IGAs. The detailed data related to each area that I previously mentioned is also outlined in the handouts provided to you earlier today. This slide represents a glimpse of our FY22 highlights. As a reminder, the municipal clerk also serves as the election superintendent for the purpose of calling an election or referendum for the city. The clerk is responsible for contracting with both Fulton and DeKalb County's Office of Registration and Elections to manage Election Day voting activities. We are responsible for qualifying each candidate and serving as the state ethics filing agent regarding state campaign and financial disclosures for elected officials, as well as those candidates seeking office. These are some of the numbers regarding the 2021 municipal general election and election runoff. The OMC has enhanced the search features of EasyFile, the system we use to maintain and report campaign and personal financial disclosure information to the State Ethics Office. We maintain a user-friendly election website where we post nonpartisan election information, which includes notifications regarding municipal, county, state, and federal election impacting the Atlanta citizens. Before closing, I'd like to say that I'm very proud to be a member of the clerk's office and even more proud of the entire staff of the office. We generally work day to day as a team to fulfill the goals of our office. I'd like to commend each and every person throughout the office for their diligence and their dedication day and night. We thank you for the opportunity to serve you and the citizens of Atlanta. Thank you very much. That concludes our portion of the presentation. And we welcome any questions.
Mr. Webb, have you not been given a speaking role today?
I chose to delegate my responsibility.
I see. We've been joined by Ms. Marcy Collier-Overstreet, and I saw, well, first I'm going to start by recognizing the Committee on Council Chair and let her kick it off. I saw Ms. Norwood's hand, and I saw Ms. Overstreet's hand, and we'll take it from there.
Good morning. Good morning. I would like to thank each and every one of you all for the diligence and dedication that you all exhibit here. I can't think of one person that is not available on the weekends for us. So for that, I am truly grateful. Mr. David Johnson and Ms. Corrine Lindo and everyone have been just magnificent 24/7. Also, if you all would just make sure that we have what we need in our budgets. And of course, we want to make sure that our salaries are in line, because I know people come around and try to encourage our people to go to other departments. So we must make sure that we're able to keep it, because there's a drop when we have to find someone else. So be vocal, be honest, and tell us what you need. And to you all that just work around the clock, we just appreciate you. So thank you.
Yes, there have been some issues with the internet service in our offices. What are we doing about that? Is it included in your budget to get that service reliable for us and for our staffs?
Yes, ma'am. We have had some issues with the Wi-Fi in our area. AIM has came out. The vendor is going to come out to measure the strength of the Wi-Fi in different locations, and if need be, they will put in extra antennas.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Overstreet, and then Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and I also want to let you know how appreciative I am and pleased with the work that you all do. You all make us look like rock stars, and I mean every bit of it, from our legislation to our forward-facing meetings to getting our word out, and I don't think anyone knows how much work you all do to make us shine, and I appreciate that about you. So much so, I really like looking great and shining, that I want to be sure about what I will be specifically advocating for. And I think that here it says that you're proposing an increase of $108,635. Is that correct? Yes, Councilmember, that increase that you see noted is actually, it encompasses the 2% salary adjustment that Mayor Dickens and the administration will move forward with in January of 2023. Yes, ma'am, as well as it accounts for extra help. So that actually does not account for the additional resources that we will need. That will come forward in a budget amendment.
And and that's where I am. I'd like to know the amount that you'd like to have, because I want to make sure that you have what you need. You all deserve to be compensated for the hard work that you do. It's a really high level of work that you all deliver on a regular basis, and I think that it should be compensated.
Well, thank you so much, Councilmember. We are planning on submitting our additional substitute for City Council staff for the personnel paper. You all received last Wednesday. Of course, we had to postpone the Finance Executive meeting that was scheduled for the 25th of May, but there will be an additional substitute that will make sure that we allocate based on equity pay adjustments. It's not only merit-based, but also equity to establish and maintain the equity that's needed.
Absolutely, and that's data-driven, because I know that, I mean, with us being the largest city and the largest municipality in the state, I just want to make sure that you're getting what you need. So I am all for the budget amendment. I hadn't seen the specifics, but I would like to know the numbers for sure.
I will make sure to share with everyone.
Okay. And to that end, again, just wanting to make sure you all know that we're here to support you just as much as you are here, as much as you support us. I had a meeting, I rushed out. I'm like, oh no, I can't miss City Council, because you don't miss anything for me. So want to make sure I'm here for you.
Thank you.
Ms. Overstreet, if I could also respond, Forrest Webb III, City of Atlanta.
Did you see me look back there for you? When I heard your voice, I was like...
City of Atlanta Municipal Clerk, I want to specifically address the personnel issues that my office will be bringing forward. I will be requesting 2 new created positions, and 2 positions will be abolished. So the head count will still be the same. And what I wanted to do was create an opportunity for individuals when it comes to succession planning and when it came to retention, and to eliminate glass ceilings that you may have in a small group such as mine, which is only 10 employees. So subsequently, I'm creating two deputy assistant municipal clerk positions. And subsequently, one will be more operationally driven, and the other will be more legislative driven. And subsequently, that will give individuals currently in my office an opportunity for advancement and also proper compensation. And in addition to that, because we have a new work environment, the pandemic has put us all in a situation where there is beauty that has come out of the pandemic, if you will. Although we're still in it, it's like the rainbow after a storm. And subsequently, it's taught us a different way in which we can utilize our resources and evaluate things differently. Even going back as far as 2018, when we had the cyber attack with the city of Atlanta, that was a prerequisite for us being able to sustain our operations during the actual pandemic. Again, the beauty that came out of a storm. We have not lost any of the knowledge-based technology that we have in our office, as well as the research staff. We were able to weather the storm, and subsequently in 2018, we didn't lose any data, any of the historical history that the city of Atlanta has, and we have history going back to the 1800s. That is our charge and our constitutional responsibility. And I wanted to bring to you all's attention that it's my intent to make sure that this office can stand up 10 to 20 years from now, regardless if Forrest Webb is the municipal clerk or not. The office can operate on its own and is not driven by personalities or individuals. Although we have benefited from the fact that we have an average of 15 years experience in our office, at some point we will not have an average of 15 years of experience in our office. And I do want the office to be able to sustain at that point. And let me digress also to address another question that was posed to the finance department who presented prior to us. One of the things that we have benefited from in our office, during the pandemic, we had a shift between operational, consumable and non-consumable supplies. We have shifted that budget, that line item, to our technical as well as cell phones. Everyone has a cell phone in my office, whereas previously they did not have a cell phone. Through collaboration and conversation with the finance department, they noticed this trend in our office. So before I even made the request, they changed and allocated our funds in that direction, because what we did before, we were transferring funds to actually be able to pay for those services. That's a collaborative effort between the finance department as well as the clerk's office. In addition to that, when it comes to budget hearings, when it comes to millage rate hearings, when it comes to elections, we do display ad for those respective actions that are statutorily driven by the state. And subsequently, those ads cost anywhere between $5,000, $10,000, and $20,000 a piece. We have been working very diligently with the finance department and the law department to make sure that we advertise those properly and keep us out of any legal compromising situations. And lastly, I'll say is that the finance department, prior to any budget, and we're kind of a hybrid where all of the other departments, they will speak with the administration and say, this is what our budget is. We don't have that luxury, but finance makes sure that they have conversations with us as well as HR. We have monthly meetings with HR discussing HR matters. And subsequent to that, I'll say, for example, the elections, and Mr. Charles Bell, who did not have an opportunity to speak when finance was speaking, who is the budget director, he continues to contact and have communications related to election funding. Typically, an election will cost us $2.3 million. However, in a non-election year, we have an ability to piggyback elections of the state or federal, which may bring our costs down to $500,000 or so. But we have to be very strategic as to when we want to have these actions take place. And the communications with the finance department and the communication that the finance department has with the executive offices has been an invaluable resource to make everyone look good and have everyone in a posture where we're doing the best with the people's money. Lastly, I would like to say the election that we had for May 24th, we were the beneficiaries of having to pay only $1,000 for that election. We were able to piggyback the election, and it had a lot to do with timing. We were able to piggyback that election. Fulton County charged us $0, and DeKalb County only charged us $1,000 for administrative costs. Again, that's driven based on relationships that we have with DeKalb and Fulton County. So in a lot of instances when you may not see me here, I still have obligations when I wear my other hat dealing with elections. But sorry to be long-winded, but I hope this information is germane and appropriate at this particular time.
Okay. So I just would like to follow up to make sure that we have the amendment that I can advocate for. Thank you. And just to summarize the personnel transactions that will come forward, there will be a total of 6 reclassifications, 5 grade amendments, adjustments, and 1 request for an additional position. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis and Mr. Hillis, and then Ms. Boone, and then Mr. Winston.
And echoing Ms. Boone and Ms. Overstreet on making sure that you get as much help as you need. Thank you for all of the assistance you've been able to do. I think that as a new council member, one thing I do know we needed was institutional knowledge, and that's something that you just can't create. And so that glass ceiling, in which I talked about in the last with the financial folks, was I can see it happening here. And the only way we can stop it from happening here is if we infuse some new funding in it. I want to say thank you to Santana for leading and serving in the route that you've been doing it. Thank you so much for leading and serving in that route. This can only come from your department with this efficiency and effectiveness that I've seen since I've been here. So I want to say thank you for continuing that going. And if this budget is what you need, I support that portion, but you said we need some substitutes. I support those financially as well. I think that the mayor should know that 3 people just said we support you all getting those budget substitutes. And I think they should be listening when you say that. So thank you on that. Thank you for coming today. And I couldn't miss this meeting either. I was helping somebody get out of jail this morning. So I want to say thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you all for the work you do day in and day out. One question I had, and sorry I missed the first half of the presentation, questions, I don't know if it was talked about, but at least the people that served with me last term, we all grew to hate Elms more than we did before. And at the end of the last term, we were told that a new legislative management software was coming, but we weren't going to start using it until the next term, so we could educate all the new members at the same time. Where are we with that, and what is the issue with the delays?
I will start off, and then I will defer to Municipal Clerk as well as our IT Manager Senior. It was our hopes that we would have gone live in January this year with the new system. There have been several hiccups, I will say, along the way, and we would not want to place an application before you that you would not be satisfied with. There are procurement issues, so we won't go into those details. The law department is involved. Our Atlanta Information Management Department, project managers are assigned to it, as well as working, like I said, with procurement and the vendor. However, we dare not place an application before you. If you think Elms makes you upset at times, at the point we're at right now, and we are continuously working with weekly meetings with our project team, with the vendor, trying to ensure that everything that we need is integrated into the system, as we were told from the initial request for proposal and the contract being awarded.
So we have at least a tentative timeline for
And you did say you missed the beginning of the speech. Our goal is to go live by end of the year, if not sooner than that. And I will defer to Mr. Webb and to Mr. Massenberg for any additional feedback on that, as they are part of all of these meetings and trainings that have been going on.
Again, Forrest Webb III, Municipal Clerk. I will take ownership that prior to the first meeting of the year, specifically, I put a hard stop on it. I put a hard stop on it because we had not successfully done end-to-end testing to my satisfaction. And in addition to that, before I will have the elected officials who will be the forward-facing entity when it comes to the legislative management system, if I don't feel comfortable and we don't feel comfortable doing the end-to-end and all of the back-end work that you've discussed earlier, we have to be able to execute that in the system. If we can't execute that in the system, I can't in good conscience make that recommendation that we go forward. And subsequently, we've held the vendor accountable. And we're now in our third iteration of end-to-end testing. And until we do end-to-end testing that has been satisfactory to our liking, it won't be rolled out. One of the issues and the concerns that I had is when we chose the vendor, who is subsequently the vendor who owns our current operating system, the vendor represented to us that we would not lose any functionality that we currently have. And subsequently, we thought it would be enhancing the functionality we currently have. That has not been the case. We have lost some functionality that we currently have with some nuances and some new additional functions that put a lot of burden, that will put a heavy burden on staff during the committee meeting as well as during the full council meeting. We do not have the luxury, because of the 15 members that we have and the fluid nature by which you do your work, which is your constitutional responsibility, and we cannot take anything away from your ability to do your job because of technology. The citizens of the community voted, brought you to office. You have the ability to substitute, make motions, reconsider, send items post haste. That is that's our obligation to make sure that you can continue to do those things. The system became somewhat inflexible. And so we have sent several issues back to the vendor to address. I am hopeful that we will be able to roll out something soon, but as I've told AIM, as well as the project managers, I will not let a deadline dictate when we go live. It will be the success of the system that will dictate when we go live. And the first meeting of the year was targeted as the very first meeting that we were going to go live. Again, in good conscience, I could not make that recommendation, so there was a lot of consternation at that point. So, Mr. Massenberg, if you have any technical issues that you would like to add.
Thank you. I concur with everything Mr. Webb and Ms. Wright said. We've been having weekly, at least 2 meetings a week. We are starting now. We have meetings that start at 5 p.m. and in about 6:30. I think some of the meetings, the vendor hates when I'm on a call because I'm holding them more to what they promise, and then they don't remember. So we're working to get something that you all would be satisfied with. Like Mr. Webb said and Ms. Wright said, we didn't want to give you all something that would be worse than Mr. Shook's, I think, calls it a film. So we don't want to give them anything worse than our current system.
So just to follow up, because I'm hearing lots of issues with a vendor, like are we sure that this vendor is the one? I mean, is it I don't know what the software is, but is it a well-known, used by our peer city system? I mean, what are our peer cities doing if not?
The vendor is more of a monopoly. There are other systems. When we were going through the procurement or discovery phase of systems that would be able to support us, I want to say over that 2-year period, year and a half period, the vendor acquired probably 3 of the vendors that we were looking at. And of course we can't get into procurement discussion, liability with that. But it is a very well-known vendor. They actually provide other services to other departments, including our City of Atlanta website. So it is a well-known vendor.
And I would like to add as well, they've acted as a conglomerate and they've been gobbling up competitors that we did previously consider. This niche is relatively new, so subsequently they're still pioneering it, the industry. And same thing with some of the other vendors. What we have not tried to do is put our operations in a box. And that's what other municipalities and other counties have done. And we've spoken to other counties, and I don't want to put them on record, but they've had the same issues that we had or are having. But the thing they did is they rolled theirs out. Now they have a lot of consternation. They've lost some of their data, and subsequently they're stuck. I don't want to be stuck, nor does Ms. Kempson Wright want us to be stuck. So we appreciate the patience, and that's one of the reasons why I've chosen not to give you the continued update. I like to manage people's expectations, and subsequently, if I don't have anything where I can report in a reasonable manner, I'm going to withhold that information until it's appropriate to bring it forward.
Understood. Thank you all.
Mr. Lewis, thank you, and Ms. Phyllis Jackson, for the wonderful, wonderful way that you have just kind of brought us out into the 21st century. A lot of us weren't ready to move into different lanes, and you really, really pushed us on some of our events. How are we handling when we have 3 different events, the camera people? You really made me feel like it was so important to have video. I had an event and I realized that video was so important. When we have 3 events on a Saturday, how do we handle that?
Well, we do have good morning again, Councilmember Zena Lewis, Communications Director. We do have an in-house videographer at times when council members have events at the same time, same day. We do put a bid out and hire a vendor or a videographer to cover those multiple events.
Who is doing Miss Talia's job now? Because it's been seamless. It doesn't seem like it's been great. Who's doing her job?
Well, she was a designated social media coordinator, but myself and Michael Ulmer, we've all shared the duties. Between Talia, Michael, and myself, we all shared our duties. She was just designated the social media coordinator. So at times, Michael may post or I may post. We all monitor it late at night.
Are you going to fill that position?
We have made an offer, but looking to fill the position sometime in early July.
Okay. The amount of proclamations that you all have done is just outstanding. It's been outstanding. That's very important that those that are turning 100, those community organizations that need to be recognized, you all have done, Mr. Michael Ulmer and yourself have done just a magnificent job. And those speeches, they've been magnificent. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Councilmember. Thank you.
Councilmember Boone, if I may, to piggyback off of Mr. Lewis, we currently have 2 photographers, videographers per the classification on staff. One is solely for videography, editing, and the other is a photographer. We are requesting 1 additional photographer be added to our staff. Actually, there's already an extra help position that we're in the process of recruiting for. And the reason for that is we serve and support 16 elected officials. When we compare ourselves to the administration, the mayor's executive team, he has 3 combination of videographers, photographers for 1 individual, and each department has their own communications team, which also has videographers, photographers as well. And so we of course have funds allocated for resources that we have to use quite often. Of course, life happens, and so everyone is not always present, but we are looking to increase the resources for the Office of Communications in that manner.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Ms. Bakhtiari.
Sorry, what's that?
You have the floor, Ms. Winston.
Thank you. So a song comes to mind by The Weeknd called Nothing Without You when I think of every one of you and the work that you all do for us. As a new council member, I can't thank each and every one of you for the work that you do, going above and beyond the call of duty on a regular basis. Councilmember Boone mentioned, the late weekend phone calls to, during the transition of us being elected, coming out, Damon, to my home, bringing equipment, making sure I was trained, and just the level of reverence that Forrest has brought to this position and helped each and every one of us. I thank you for that. One of the things that I think about in this position, we especially a lot of the new council members, come at you a lot with legislative requests through your office, and I know that so much so that we've got on a self-imposed deadline to get those to your staff to make sure that we can get those requests in. And I know for myself, a lot of times, and I hate to say this, I find myself hesitant to submit some because I know that you all are inundated with them so much. Is the budget, do you think, sufficient enough to make sure that you have the resources or personnel to be able to handle those, so that we could possibly be in a position where if there were last minute requests, we could get those in for our constituents?
I would say that it is not sufficient enough to handle in the manner in which you're requesting. There has been conversation, one of the council members actually who submitted something over a weekend, and please, council member, even if it is last minute, it is okay to submit. I typically will take on those items myself because I try my best to ensure that the staff is able to enjoy a portion of their weekend. I won't say the entire weekend, but a portion of it, because they are working on the weekends as well. So don't at all fret or halt in submitting those type of requests. We will get them done. But there was a request or inquiry from a council member asking if there was even outside resources that we could use for some of these last minute requests that we get. Oftentimes it's items that we can turn around rather quickly, but it may be something that requires additional resources and research for us to get ready for the Monday for the full council meeting for you.
And also, if I could add something, I just want to say thank you to all of the elected officials for adhering to the deadlines. Again, what has happened during the pandemic, it has made everyone work more efficiently and plan and be thoughtful in their actions. The new elected officials as well as the senior elected officials, but more so than that, the City of Atlanta staff in general. When it comes to our communication and interaction with other departments, I've found that during the pandemic, it has made other departments be more thoughtful in how they engage with the Office of Municipal Clerk, rather than, hey, I see you in the hallway, or I see you on the elevator, or I just have a notion and I just pick up the phone or send you an email. We can always make exceptions to the rules, but what I really appreciate over the last 2.5 years is that individuals have been more thoughtful, and they have not approached the work of the clerk's office as if we were gas station clerks. That annoys me, and I appreciate it. We have controlled chaos when it comes to our personal papers. At one point, the personal papers came from everywhere. During the council meeting, the last 2 or 3 minutes of the council meeting. Now we have a more efficient way in which we do the personal papers. We have a list from the administration as well as the legislative team, and I can't say enough about the work that they actually do to manage expectations on a regular basis. So I just wanted to add that coming out of the pandemic, we have a different culture that we're conscious of, and we're grateful that you all are even considerate of the deadlines. And because everyone is being considerate of the deadlines, we can make exceptions to the rules. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I'll just add one other point. A few of my colleagues and I were meeting with someone that was a council member in another major metropolitan city a couple of days ago, and even they were singing the praises of how well run our council offices and staff were, and that's kudos to the hard work and dedication of you all. So thank you again.
Ms. Keisha Sean Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, thank each of you for your support, for all that you do. I am grateful. I had a question for you. I am new to city government, and I'm coming from across the street at the Capitol, where I recall we had a very robust team of interns. And I guess my question to you is this: given that we have all of these world-renowned institutions here in our backyard, is there any consideration to providing that opportunity to individuals who do have a desire to serve in public service or some level of public administration, I think would be a wonderful opportunity to expose them to this opportunity. And so it's my hope that something would go out if it has not already happened. Thank you.
Councilmember, the Mayor's Summer Youth Engagement Program does have City Council listed as one of the departments for summer interns. We will, Ms. Tanner and myself, work with the Department of Human Resources to identify any individuals. I will say, beyond just the summer program, your offices have the autonomy to hire interns, and there are several offices that have interns available. Of course, there is certain criteria that we must follow and abide by, Fair Standard Labor Act qualifications, and we just have to make sure we're in compliance with those.
And through the Mayor's Youth Program, they can hire within 2 weeks. The process is a much faster process. My office has been able to take in 7 of those young folk, and we're excited about those.
I'm curious, how many vacancies are your organizations carrying, if any?
The Office of Municipal Clerk currently has one. We had one individual that chose to go home to be with family, and we had one vacancy that we filled of an individual that retired. So subsequently, before the retirement, we had about 18 years of average experience in the office.
Thank you.
Of the 22, I have 17 that are filled and 5 that are vacant.
Where do those vacancies reside, or are they spread across the organization?
They're spread across the organization, but administrative support, council communications, as well as our research and policy office.
And where are those in terms of the process of being
We're in the process. We have made an offer to one of the individuals, if I'm correct. There are, of the 5 vacancies, 3 are in the Office of Communications. 1 we're in the process of onboarding, with 2 after that. We don't have space because we are, as I stated earlier, in person, in a hybrid mode, but we're in person. A minimum of 3 days a week, our staff is here. But we are in the process, I believe July we will have an individual starting with us in one of the roles in communications. Hopefully, end of July, an additional photographer, if not sooner than that, as well as administrative support by the end of the month, of this month.
Is there a long-term plan to work out this space issue?
Yes, there is. There has been conversation with the mayor's office, chief of staff, Mr. Odie Donnell. We are in the process of finalizing an expansion to ensure we have enough space.
Ms. Bacteri?
I'm going to try to turn off my mic before you saw that it was on. No, I think everyone has asked pretty much all the questions that I was concerned with. I think one of my main questions is, after dealing with the 16 personalities that has been brought up so many times, is do you have regular access to therapy? But no, I think Mr. Webb wants to answer that question.
We have a staff meeting every Thursday, which allows us the opportunity to vent.
I'm glad to hear it. But truly, thank you all very much for your patience. Ms. Walden, especially to you. I know we have a very special relationship. But no, truly, thank you all so much. And Zena, just know that those media reports that you send over don't go unread. I love them. So I appreciate all the work that y'all do, and very grateful to the outside individual. I had no idea how much support we got as council members, so deeply appreciative for you all.
I prefer to believe that they view us as role models.
Oh, of course.
But I may be wrong.
That's called delusion, but you do that now.
Well, and despite that, you guys do a great job, and it does need to be recognized again. For as aggravating as we find phlegm occasionally, you guys are the ones that literally have to wrestle it into submission when it acts out. And so we need to recognize that and kind of keep recognizing that. Other questions or comments for our award-winning
Lastly,
staff?
Mr. Vice Chair, Ms. Tanner, your team, you all have been seamless with the invoices. That's very important, that when folks are calling, you all can tell us the exact date, time, and when it will be paid. The administrative team with Ms. Tanner and Ms. Brown, we've got to just say thank you for getting our vendors paid. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. Get back to work.
Thank you.
Yes, we will reconvene at 1 o'clock. Lunch is going to show up at some point, I believe, in the conference room. Well, we've done a good job. So we will recess and get back here at 1 with Department of Transportation.